My deck profile. Doing a deck profile for my top 32 UK Nationals 2016 deck. I was playing antimeta, as you can see, and a lot of people asked me to do the deck profile with them, but I have to apologize. I had to borrow the whole deck, and I already returned most of the cards to the owners, so I couldn't do a deck profile in the location. I'm sorry for that, but yeah, this way I can also show you my deck list, and I think I can say a few words about the card choices and why I play this deck. Basically, I've been very inactive, as you can also see on my channel, and this is my first event since December last year, I think. And I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare for the event, and I went there on short notice. So I opted to play a deck that I know how to play and that doesn't allow my opponent to play, so I didn't have to actually know what all the meta decks do card by card, and didn't really actually have to be able to play them myself. That's my excuse, basically, and I really like to play anti-meta. It fits my playstyle, and I've had quite a few successful events with it. Right, let's dig into the deck list. As you can see in my main deck, I've chosen to run the Artifact engine with Moral Tug and Scythe, and Triple Sanctum. That's a small Artifact engine. I've chosen to run Artifacts purely for the fact that Twin Twister is a thing, and I was thinking with Artifacts in the deck, people will not be able to effectively use Twin Twister or even MST on my back rows without having to fear to hit that. Also, Moral Tug is a very versatile removal plus a beatstick, and Scythe can be pretty crucial if you're able to stop your opponent for one turn, and then you can just speed over their monsters and establish a board that they can't break. Because this is what the deck's trying to do. It tries to establish a board the opponent can't break, and have one of the three really good anti-meta monsters, Banisher, Fossil Dino, or Kaiku on board, which all have permanent effects that pretty much disable your opponent's deck from doing what it's supposed to do. Like, while the Banishers face up, Burning Abyss, and all the Monarch spells, and like even Pendulum monsters don't do what they're supposed to do because they're banished instead of sent to the graveyard or to the extra deck. Fossilina obviously hinders my opponents from special summoning and doing all these crazy combos Pendulum decks can do at the moment. And then Kaiku disables the Monarch decks from searching with Pantheism from Brave and special summoning back the Trap card as a monster, and also disable most of the Phantom Knight stuff that Burning Abyss runs. And they also came in pretty versatile against a lot of other decks that rely on call, like the Cosmo deck with Card of Demise and everything. And I ran one single Thunder King just because it's a good speed stick and still kind of good with its effect. And yeah, I'm running a really low monster count, so I might as well just play the Thunder King as well for it. Then running triple Card of Demise. This card is actually amazing. It's like way too powerful, and it makes decks like this pretty viable because it fuels your hand. You don't run low on resources if you have this, and in best case it's just a +2, and you set like 2 and summon a monster or something, and just straight up get a huge advantage out of it. And the drawback isn't actually that bad because I rarely ever special summon in my turn anyway for this deck. And then not being able to deal damage. This deck's very ignorant of the opponent's life points because as long as you have your board established, eventually you'll gain a big enough card advantage, or your opponent will accumulate enough dead cards that you actually lead the card advantage game by that much that you win no matter what, and then you can start beating them down. So unless you're going towards time, this deck really doesn't care too much about life points. I ran one Gold Sarcophagus because it combos up nicely with the Card of Demise. It is a card that doesn't stay on the field nor in your hand, so you can basically use it and then play Card of Demise or draw it by Card of Demise and avoid having to discard your cards you just gained. So basically it is an extra card that doesn't have to be set and doesn't have to be discarded from your hand with Card of Demise, and also it enables you to search crucial cards such as Regeki or maybe even the Mirror Force or Macrocosmos against certain matchups. Yeah, it just fit in well into the deck list, and with a slow meta like this, it's actually pretty useful. Okay, next up is Triple Duality, pretty staple in decks like this. Lets you choose whatever you need at the moment. The drawback is irrelevant because you don't special summon on your turn unless you XYZ summon, and I think I XYZ summoned twice in the whole tournament. Regeki, one of the best cards. It's so crucial at times, and yeah, it won me a couple games. It's actually pretty nice, especially when you like get to clear the board and then play a Fossil Diner or play a Banisher, then banish their whole board. It's pretty amazing. I ran Absurd because, as I say, this deck's pretty ignorant of the life points either one plays, so Absurd was fine, just pretty much playing 39 cards, getting to your key cards faster. That's okay. In general, I'm not a big fan of Absurd, but in this deck it's okay because you don't really care about your opponent's life points too much. Then we're in Triple Sanctum. Triple Sanctum, I explained that before, is basically bait for MSTs and Turn Twisters, and it's a versatile removal or impedes your opponent from special summoning from the X deck for the turn if you get Scythe. And yeah, it's just a good card if you don't draw it in multiples and draw the artifacts as well. It ran Bottomless, Stapleish. I ran 2 Chaos Trap Holes because a lot of the meta decks like Pepe and Monarchs and Cosmo have a lot of light and dark monsters, so it's another warning basically. Compulse, just another versatile removal. I ran 1 Drowning Mirror Force. The card is actually very good, but as you try to keep the monsters on the field in this deck, it's not that powerful because you can't use it while you have a monster, it's only for direct attacks. So I just opted to play 1 in case my opponent manages to clear my board and tries to push. You can penalize him with this. I ran Triple Normal Mirror Force. Triple Normal Mirror Force just because it's the best removal trap card when you try to keep your monsters on field. And it combos up with the Banishers, and basically it's been doing a great job. I love that Mirror Force. I've been loving Mirror Force ever since I first played it, I think. I've played it in a lot of my top cut decks, like in one-offs, and well, it fit in as a free-off in this one, so yeah, why not? Played Macrocosmos as well, because Macrocosmos basically does what Banisher does, but it's a little harder to remove, and it doesn't bother me at all, so might as well. Played Triple Sword of Phantom Knight Sword. Phantom Knight Sword is actually my current replacement for Safe Zone, because Phantom Knight Sword does a similar thing, plus it pushes my monster's ATK by 800, and it's very versatile. You can just equip it to protect your monster from a Raigeki or Dark Hole. You can flip it in damage step to push that monster's ATK. You can even use it on like a Kaiku to run over big defense monsters like Dante or the Monarch Trap. So that card's proven to be amazing. I really like it. Run Triple Sunstrike. Sunstrike is a very good trap card. It's 1500 life points. It's okay, it's not too expensive, and it has multi-purpose. You can negate a whole pendulum summon, you can negate whatever effect your opponent's using. Yeah, you can negate X-Wazy and Synchro Summons. It's been straight up amazing. The card is like really powerful. I was even thinking about running Divine Wrath in my anti-meta decks before this came out, and now I can play a card that does the same thing but doesn't cost me an extra card in hand, so this is a lot better and fulfills the purpose. And then Solemn Warning and 1 Starlight Road, mainly because of Twin Twister. And yeah, Starlight Road has been good. Starlight Road's actually a really strong card. If you pull it off, you most of the time win in the game. It's been dead from times, but then again, during the games where I had it and activated it, I probably would have lost without it, so it was well worth playing it as a one-off. Then for the side deck, I ran double Cyber Dragon, mainly for the Cosmo matchup, because you want to make Attack Fortress Dragon with their ships. Double Electric Eccentric, mainly for Royal Decree, because Royal Decree screws the stack up with 20 main deck drops. 1 Dark Hole. I probably want to add a second Dark Hole to my side, because Dark Hole and Raigeki have been proven to be such good cards, especially in this deck. Just to clear the board and then re-establish it if you don't start, for example, and if your opponent figures that they have to put out as much pressure on the board as they can. And if you manage to Dark Hole or Raigeki them and then establish the ball after that, yeah, it's really good. Then Necro Valley is for obvious reasons. Your opponent can't banish from grave, that's good against Monarchs and against BA, and your opponent can't special summon from grave or it back from grave. That's another good fact, and it's a spell, so it's not that viable to decree. Vulnerable, sorry. And yeah, I've not really drawn it too much, but when I drew it, it was just like a more win, because in that situation I already was up so far that I think it wasn't really relevant at any point. But in theory it's really good, and if I am not winning the game already, it might actually be really good. It needs more playtesting. System Down has been amazing. That helped me a great deal to beat the 2 Clifford matchups I had during the tournament. And yeah, it's basically an extra Raigeki that also banishes them so they can't get Pendulum summoned back, and it's also good against Cosmo. Flaws mainly for the Klee matchup, because Klee is a really bad matchup for this deck because the monsters are all stronger, and then they have Skill Drain and Clipper Launch to make them even stronger and unaffected and everything. And I have a lot of bad cards in the main deck, so I wanted to side heavily for that matchup. And that paid off. Full House has actually been crucial in 2 games, I think. And Double Mask of Restrict for Monarchs, because they don't do a lot if they contribute summon, and that card has won me 1 game entirely on its own, and then has been really good in a couple other games against Monarchs, so yeah. 2 off is fine, I think, with Card of Demise and Duality and everything, you get to it really fast. I might cut the Radiant Mirror Force for the Storming Mirror Force for a 3rd one, but I'm not sure about that. Storming Mirror Force has not been that good. I sided a couple times purely because I had a lot of dead cards against the matchup. I played a ton of rogue decks, and I would have rather had a Drowning Mirror Force there, or against Monarchs another Mask Restrict. And I sided Emptiness. I've never ever drawn Emptiness this whole tournament, except for 1 game where I was so far behind that it didn't really matter anymore. So I can't really tell, but in theory the card is still way too good not to play it, and so yeah, this definitely stays in. The reason why I don't play it in the main deck is because it's bad against Monarchs, and I expected a lot of Monarchs, because it's a budget deck that still can do very well, so I put it inside. And then yeah, for extra deck was pretty irrelevant. I used the Chimeric Fortress String a couple times, some Starter String of Starlight Road, and then for XYZs I think I used Castell once and Zenmains once. Zenmains actually won me a crucial game against Clifford in time, because I managed to beat him for 1900 into the face with Thunder King, and then saw no other way to win except for like survive the timeout, because game 1 was so long, and then basically game 2 started in time, and I managed to survive with Zenmains because it's 2100 defense and can save itself twice. Yeah, that was pretty cool, but this deck is not really dependent on the extra deck. Like, you don't really need the extra deck. This works 99% without extra deck as well. Yeah, at this point I want to give a huge shout out to all people who lent me cards, especially Sean Moisey Jones and Daly, who basically lent me like 90% of the deck, I think. Thank you guys, you're amazing, and everybody else as well. And huge shout out to the British community, because this is my first event in the UK, like a UK national event I've been to in years after the UK Pros, and it was very enjoyable. The atmosphere was great. There was almost no rule sharking, and everybody was friendly. All my opponents were really, really nice, except for a few exceptions. And yeah, I really can't complain. It was really enjoyable to be back in the game after 7 months and have a nice, enjoyable event. Also, big shout out to everybody in the hotel and everybody who bailed on night out yesterday, because you're all fucking huge pussies. That had to be mentioned as well. And yeah, huge shout out to my team United Gozos, and especially Carmelo Bugiglieri, who gave me the basic idea for this deck, and I think I copied his deck list from German Nationals 1-to-1, then started playtesting it on the end a little bit, and adjusted some cards to my gusto, and then ended up with this list. But yeah, the basic idea is his, so big shout out to you, Carmelo. And yeah, all in all, it feels really good to be back, and I'm actually really looking forward to European Championship in Berlin later in July, and maybe I'll be able to do a couple other events before that. Depends on how much time I get off and stuff like that. But yeah, expect to see more content from me in the future, and if you have any questions or any opinions or want to share or whatever, feel free to shoot me a message, a comment, or whatever you want. Right, I'm out. Cheers, guys.